Welcome back to the CoR Podcast. This is episode 2, and I am Josh.
I'm AJ. Hello.
And for this episode, we got topics like last time. We're motivated. We're gonna get to the one we didn't get let to last time. So again, just like last, so I know I can do it this time. So I'm not gonna say it might appear. It will appear. I am a genius editor. So guns. Not real weed, the fake weed that's in illegal states. We're going to talk about certain things about it legally, legislation, just all the things that have to go with all
possible.
May not apply to you kids that got the legal weed.
No,
and
it's an interesting loophole, though, so we'll talk about it. Yeah,
there's some interesting things that we'll get into if guns doesn't take up all things, and I'm sure we have to. I mean, it's a big issue that obviously, two kids probably behind a camera can't solve, so it might take a second. Me and him both have experienced recent weather. We're both from Kansas, as we brought up on the thing before, and they've had almost tornado-like weather the last in recent history. So we're going to talk about that. He has some interesting information, and of course I was in a lot of it. So we could have some different aspects, and then for the first time ever, we actually have the person who killed JFK, and we will reveal it at the end of the episode if we get to it. I know it does sound like it's important, but if we get to it, so
it's a long episode.
It is a long episode.
We hope you'll stick around with us.
Yeah, but if you stick around, we 100% will tell you who killed JFK. And it's not who you think.
No, it's an exclusive.
Or what you think.
No, it's an exclusive.
I'm giving away too much. I'm sorry. Okay.
That's for later.
That's for later. We want to do something unique with this intro, and let's hit this second episode off running and take a look at the top comments and maybe reply to the comments from last episode. So throw them up. Guns. So you want to talk about some guns?
Some guns. You want to talk about some guns? Bro, I like talking about guns, bro. No, that's my that's my gun bro voice.
I am an American.
I as an American can talk about guns with anyone at any time at any point. It's one of my things. Since we are getting to guns, I guess let's lay the framework down.
Where would you like to start with guns, my friend? This was a topic you did kind of bring up last time that we didn't get to, so let me lay down your framework, my friend.
Sure. So framework is, at its core, it's a device anymore, modern time.
No, not how a gun works. What do you think about it? Jesus.
Anymore, it's a device. It has a very specific function, right?
Right.
Very specific function. For someone to pick up a tool with a specific function and they don't know how to properly use the tool, that's dangerous, right?
Right.
So wouldn't it behoove people to learn a little bit more about how the tool works before you pick it up, in theory, right? The problem, I think, with guns that I see is a plethora of choice and availability, but a distinct lack of, not necessarily available information, but information just shoved down people's throats. The way we approach it is bass backwards.
Okay, so I guess I'm not getting what you're trying to say. So you're saying it's like the information on guns is too much, so it's hard to really truly learn gun safety, or what are you saying?
Well, I'm saying that a lot of people's first introduction to a gun and what it does is through some form of media, and I hate saying that, but I have to. That where said gun.
I think every kid.
Said guns. Sure,
especially boys.
It's a romanticized thing. Yeah. Well, I was gonna say I'm guilty of this as well. Because as a little kid, I had a whole collection of camp guns that I'd run around and, play like cops and robbers with or whatever.
Or even with your friends, just handguns,
Yeah, you
were very
playground, like
it
bang, bang,
felt
bang.
good to pretend like I was John Wick. John Wick wasn't my character at the time. It was probably some Bruce Willis thing. But, you know...
Indiana Jones for me, you know.
Oh, yeah,
bang,
Indiana Jones, right. It felt good to get that one. You felt like you were being a good guy, shooting the Nazis,
or pretending to do that, yeah. Or pretending to, like, you know, fast draw, like Western stuff. That's always...
Yeah, it definitely romanticized.
It definitely romanticized. We have done that in this country. And, of course, that's how our country... I mean, guns are how our country came to be, basically.
Right.
Men with them, and they just place their shots better than the damn British. So, that's really all it is. But, yeah, we've romanticized them to the point where a lot of people's first introduction to them, kind of like a lot of other things, is through media where it's romanticized and not necessarily shown accurately or safely at all. You know, how many examples can we count of the infinite bullets in a 6-shooter, or the you know, you get...
And sometimes the characters, I mean, they're making it more like the character's autistic now in earlier writings, but you always act like the character that counts the bullets is like that. That's the badass character. He counts the bullets.
Exactly.
Right?
But no, that's accurate too. I can count the bullets.
Right.
As a shoot.
Well, I mean, I don't know. If you're truly in a gunfight, I mean, what do you know? I mean, I don't really want to get into my life story, but I've had a gun held to my head at one point. And I feel like you don't really know how you're going to react in a fight or flight situation until that fight or flight situation is happening.
You never know until you're faced with it, and 99% of the time the best thing to do is comply with whatever they want.
I mean, I don't know.
You know?
I don't know.
I'm not gonna...
I don't think I did anything right. I don't want to get into my story, but I don't think I did anything right that day.
Yeah.
But
no, here's what I guess my foundation of...
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Don't let me cut you off.
You're good.
The TDRL or LD.
TLDR. The too long. Yeah, the too long.
ABC.
Don't give a shit. So yeah, I guess my foundation of it would be, we approach it in such an indignant fashion towards the realities of what the purpose of most modern firearms actually is and what they are capable of. Hence why people are so shocked by the damage AR-15s can do. And it's not necessarily the rifle itself, it's the round coming out of it. And I'll talk about that too in a second. But the idea I wish this country approached it like Switzerland does.
I'm not familiar with their laws. Explain.
So, shorthand basically, and somebody can help me out, I'm sure, and probably
the internet corrects everybody. I'm sure.
I'll
just
be
shoot in the dark. I'm ignorant of it already. So whatever he's telling me, I know less.
Right, so and help us out as well. But the basic gist of it is, everybody's trained on the usage of the firearms used by the Swiss Army. And I can tell you that includes a Glock 17 pistol.
Oh, maybe I do know something about it. Isn't everybody issued a gun too in the country?
Everybody of a certain age and
mental capability,
mental and physical health capabilities issued a military firearm. Again, usually a Glock 17, a pistol. Sometimes it's whatever their rifle is. They have an assault rifle, standard issue. Sometimes it's that. It's always in a locked thing, safe. And the ammo is always stored at an armory somewhere miles away. Like, you have to go there, you have to take your gun and go there to, like, in case of emergency, go to and get your bullets.
Well, you don't think Americans, I mean, to be devil's advocate, the Republican would argue, you don't think they do keep, their guns in lock safe?
Sure, a lot of people.
And they would argue that the most amount of gun crimes are not done by NRA holding people, right? That's their number one argument, right?
That's the number one argument, yes. And yes, there are tons and tons and tons of people who practice gun safety every day very well, and for them I applaud that, and I'm one of those people.
Well, I had to do a hunter safety, and I think I had to do multiple safety things to go and hunt deer, quail, and pheasants. Yeah. And I had to get it stamped. You had to get separate stamps on the I mean, it's been a long time. I got a lifetime license in Kansas, so I've probably been 8.5 years since I've done all this, so I guess take it with a grain of salt, but I do remember doing a lot of different things to get these stamps, so I do understand gun safety, but the argument it would be that they're done by people gaining access to it. So I guess what is your opinion about that? Do you think guns are too accessible in this country?
I do think they're too accessible for certain people, yes.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily, and I'll back up a little bit. I know the Swiss thing.
Yeah, explain your opinion on the Swiss. I'm sorry to distract you. It just, you had a key word that triggered a thought.
No, you're good. I like the idea that it is treated like the tool that it's designed to be. and it really has one purpose, and that's to kill stuff.
It is a balancer. I mean, I don't want to get into women's rights or like who's stronger, but even me as a man, you're a taller guy. You overpower me in some degree. I like having the ability to kill you as much as you have the ability to kill me, if that situation did come about.
God didn't make men equal.
Right.
Samuel Colt did.
Yeah.
With the 6-shooter.
Yeah. That's the only reason. I get everybody so against guns in the world, and I am to some degree. And I've had a gun held in my head. I have PTSD from that thing, but I just like the idea that everybody has the same power in that situation. It feels like an equalizer to me. I know it can be sometimes a force multiplier, and I get that argument, but man, I don't know.
What I don't want, and this is what's kind of happened, is what I don't want is a large group of people acquiring guns without understanding or respecting that power that they wield. So many people do it, and that's when you end up with some situations that, some terrible situations, not necessarily recent ones.
Yeah.
But some terrible ones where, somebody probably should have just had a little bit more education on what it was they were getting into with that. And that truly
But do you think those...
Okay,
so say like the mass shootings recently. Again, you said I don't, not those recently, but so mass shootings have happened a lot in the past. But do you think education would have solved that? Do you think just more education on their gun would have been like the?
Maybe, well, not necessarily. In a lot of cases, in those instances, it's again an access thing, just in terms of maybe they have someone help them acquire it. Give them money for it, or they have them go and like physically get them.
Supposedly they were all legally required. I haven't researched too much into it, but from what media I've seen,
most cases,
both left and right don't deny that they were all, at least the last 3 or 4, were legally acquired weapons.
Yeah, and they were all AR-15s.
Well, were they always used AR-15s, or did they have them and then they used guns like the guy? And because from my understanding, they would say that. Like that Parkland thing, technically he never used the larger gun he had, and the Republicans made a huge biff about that. Yeah. Not that should change, I guess, the argument too much, but when we are making legislation, it does seem like we aim for a gun that may not be the #1 used gun in mass shootings.
No, it's one of the most popular. It's not the #1 most. The #1 most is probably like a pistol of some sort, I'd say, like a Glock or a 22 or something. But the AR-15, it comes under some special scrutiny because of its nature, its destructive nature, and not necessarily don't we do
issue that as the military's gun, right? That's the gun to fight other troops, other humans.
Essentially, but
right.
I'll talk. Real quick. I'll just say that recently the U.S. military adopted a brand new service rifle. It's made by Sig Sauer. They call it the XM5. And it basically looks like a beefed up and tan, slicked up version of kind of an AR-15-ish looking rifle. An AR-15 is basically it's a rifle it can trace its lineage back to what was called Armalite rifle. The Armalite company, forget the guy's name, came up with this platform, this idea to have
automatic repeating or whatever?
No, it's called Armalite rifle.
I really didn't know.
And then people are, assault rifle. It says, no, Armalite rifle. And it's basically the patent for, the grip with the box magazine here, and you rack it, and that's how it works. And it's that whole receiver style, that whole gun stuff. Anyway, that's what it traces lineage back to since the 60s. That's what the M16 is based off of. That they got in Vietnam. And then the M4 came down from that, and now they have an XM5. They're calling it the M5 officially, and it's like big and crazy. Anyway, I'm off on a tangent, but the point is,
I'm listening. I don't know much about guns. You're giving me a lot of background. I'm sure anybody who does listen that aren't really well versed in it might appreciate it. It's nice.
Okay. But so they also have new service pistols too. The whole military has brand new pistols that they got a couple of years ago.
So how does this tie into legislation, what you're getting to?
Well, it's just interesting that it's always interesting to me when the military adopts a new firearm around the same time that other, a similar thing or other firearm, other bad crap is happening, but they adopted this brand new rifle. You know, it's been, who knows how long it's been under test and development, because they do that for years.
Yeah.
Make sure the darn thing will break under Armageddon.
Excuse me.
And you know, meanwhile, like Remington, the company, they get the lawsuit against them goes through from Sandy Hook victims, and like they actually owe those people money now.
Really? I didn't know this.
Mm-hmm. So I feel like there's some shift in, especially in how these guns are also a little bit marketed, because they are marketed in a lot of ways. They are marketed as being inexpensive. I don't want to say home defense, but kind of we'll call it extra self-defense. You know, like,
and that's the Republican
like
fix.
turbo
The Republicans
self-defense.
want to make it so it just like it costs you more to do the mass shooting. They're like $1,000 per bullet or something like that. You know, the argument from the ones that want to push forward, most of them are just saying no, because the easiest thing to get your voting base to say on camera is no. I mean, or not on camera. I mean, in the voting booth is no. That's what the NRA has been so good at. What their strategy is, all they do is pick out what legislation is anything against regulation and just say no.
Yeah.
That's where I kind of come in, because I do think the reason I think my good opinion is a little bit nuanced on it is because I think that, like, I agree that maybe, yeah, we should look at more regulation. Is mental health the regulation we look at? Yes, but I have a caveat there as well. Do we really have a good grasp on mental health? I mean, I feel like we're only recently giving therapy the credibility it deserves, you know? And then
like
there's new types of like therapy that are coming up that have to do with mentality. I don't think we have a good grasp on it, but I do think that we should have regulations on guns, but we should also kind of meet the other side halfway, because I don't think everybody should be a gun, but maybe if you are a good tax-paying American, you meet all the things. I'm not saying like what they're doing in China now, where you have like your credit score means you're a good citizen and now you can leave the country type bullshit, but specifically only to guns. And you pay your taxes, you haven't had a felony, you do pass a mental background test, and you do all these rigmarole shit, you know, that they're trying to fight against. Once you do that, maybe some of the red tape lifts up. Like, no one argues that. Like, hey, you get through all this, and now you can buy 2 AR-15s, and hell, we may even take off some of the fucking country's taxes on it, or your round mags go up, or hell, you've been a good American for 10 years now, and you've been practicing, and you go to regular classes like that, and things like that. And then I hate the Republicans' argument on the other side, where they're like, well, it's my right to defend myself from the government, and the government has a fucking nuke. Yeah. Unless you're arguing for all of us to get our own portable nuke, I can't deal with that argument. The government will always have slightly more power than you, so
they will always
it's
have
like
the bigger gun. So
it's like an ant demanding me to have a toothpick so it could fight me while I'm swatting it with a fly swatter. Like, what? Okay, here you go, ant. Flap.
Exactly.
So I think it's like wrong on both sides. Like, the left is obviously not wanting to budge. There is obviously nothing that's unfounded, but they're also not meeting it halfway, where me and you, and I think most Americans agree that if it is an equalizer or something, I get the whole force multiplier argument, but there is evil in this world, and I do think having women friends myself that feel that are in danger.
Yeah.
I mean, just having a little pea shooter to take out a guy or anything. I just feel like, you know, you can't be stronger than everybody. Unless you are the strongest person on earth, I think you're the only one who can make the argument that I fear I will.
Still shoot the strongest person.
Yeah, and that's the other reason. Yeah, even the strongest person on earth be taken out like gun. I really do feel like it is the equalizer that people. So I don't think you should fully remove it. But mental health has been the huge issue in this country, and if we do ever truly figure that out, maybe we should have a way for people to be able to take this mental health screening, take all of their background history, and then, like, some of the red tape go away. You don't have to wait a week to get a gun now. You bought a gun before, you did the month wait, you got your AR, here's your second AR the day you go in the store.
Yeah.
Right.
Here's the thing, I mean, I like that, and you are absolutely right.
Right.
You know, the government
and I love devil's advocate, so please go on.
The government will always have the bigger gun, so forget about it.
Yeah, I hate
so,
that argument here. I'm going to defend myself with a gun with AR.
Right. Why you don't need right. You can get drone blasted and you'll be fine. But
they have like gases they'll send to your vents and kill you without even thinking.
Sure, why not? But like, you don't need 42, submachine guns. granted, if you're one of those people that is gonna like use them, if you're like an armorer for movies, I know that's different. And there's a special license just for that, and you can keep all that stuff in place, because all that stuff in place works as it should. Because it's people that understand what the guns do that they're buying the stuff for, like suppressors and special, drum mags and stuff. And yeah, we pick on the AR-15 a lot. It's so darn simple to use.
I feel it's like it's our AK. We mass produce it.
It is our AK. We mass produce it.
And
everybody
it's easy to
modify. Can operate
one.
It's easy to modify. Like
it's like my little one wheel is like they are. You can make it whatever you want.
Yeah, it's the modern lever action from the Old West. And just like the Glock 19, their middle-sized like pistol, 9mm, is like the modern day detective special.
Yeah.
You can I say everybody, a lot of people can buy and pick up and accurately use a Glock pistol. They're just meant for everybody and their mom to be able to use it. So, with some training, obviously, because that's the most important thing here. I just wish it was approached not in a romanticized fashion of like you can collect this tool for killing stuff, but more like you should understand that you wield a tool that has the ability to end something.
Actually,
that should
like I said, I have like 5 or 6
friends,
5 or 6 girlfriends that will tell me things that they think are cool that they got, and the way they introduce their little maces and their tasers they got, they do think it's interesting, because I guess to some degree it does feel like show and tell as a toy, so maybe that isn't getting to the point what it is, but it does feel like they know that they're just getting that for protection, and they keep it in a certain position. They explain, and a lot of times when they're bringing it out because they're excited to show you, because I got like this weapon or something like that, but they, a lot of times they'll even tell you how like they keep it safe and stuff, and how it works, and I really do feel like it should be like that. There's nothing wrong with being excited with your new device. I've seen people happy with new hammers, right? And they only serve a purpose of hammering. You're right. I don't think we should view it as like, hell, this is gonna get me out of like hell if I'm backed up by a gang of like John Wickian villains, and I'm gonna be able to take them out with my gun. I think your gun should be like, this is the perfect gun for me. I have enough rounds, so if I am cornered by what I would think is logical, 1 or 2 people, I could strike fear into them, maim one of them, kill one of them, do what I need to do objectively, not like I'm gonna jump in on a cord, shooting in all directions like Clive Owen and shoot him up,
Right, exactly.
No, I do agree with you that there is an American, but honestly, I think that more is something that maybe does hurt younger kids, like boys and stuff like that. I think that gets infected, but that's something maybe the outside world views America as, more so than I think it is a real problem. Because I do think we do that a lot in our movies and stuff like that.
I think it's a self-prophesizing thing.
But I don't know. I think it changes to some degree once you get like education, age, and stuff like that. It's just like, when you're a little kid, everybody wants a gun, a bomb, blow up holes, turtles, or something.
I had all kinds of different little action hero like characters.
Yeah, blowing up the little toys with your fireworks.
Or like pretending to swing and like shoot the gun.
Shoot them with a slingshot. Like, it's just the nature of seeing how much damage you can do. But
sure.
When you get that, I feel like the romanticization sticks for European like countries that are looking at America like, holy shit, everybody in Kansas is just strapped a gun, going bam, 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 bam.
I mean, more people than you realize, I'm sure. When's the first time you fired a gun?
I come from a hunting family, so I've probably around, when you're allowed to, I think it was 10 to 12, somewhere around there is when you're allowed to start taking the classes, because they have like classes you have to take to go out hunting and get your hunting license. So somewhere between 12 to 14, whenever because technically, if you didn't know, you get earlier driver's license, not just in Kansas, but most places with farmland, because if you live on farmland, which my family did technically, you get a driver's license early. And like I said in last episode, I come from a family with a lot of adoptive family members, so I was like the driver of kids to school in the morning, so it was really quite necessary for me to get the driver's license going as early as possible on that.
I get you. I was gonna say I was about 8 or 10 as well, and it was like, it was just the typical guns that I think most people, I say most people, the typical guns that would be owned by typical folks. A little, like 20 gauge, like single shot shotgun.
Right.
Like a little youth shotgun. And a little tiny 22 single action revolver, like a little click back the hammer and fire, click back the hammer and fire. A little stuff like that like I feel like, and a little 22 rifle that we'd still have. But stuff like that I think is what most people who have guns have, is things like, or like my older sister has.
Well, I had shotguns because my dad was a bird hunter.
Bird hunting,
yeah.
And then when you went deer hunting, it's probably a different rifle.
Well, when I went deer hunting, it was like I was borrowing somebody else's gun because my dad actually had a similar opinion to me. Like, it was just funner to walk, like deer hunting is a lot of like you sat there in the tree waiting for the deer to show up, and it is great even to hunt them down, follow the blood trail if you didn't do the shot right. There's a lot of interesting parts of deer hunting. It just, I don't know, I think deers are cute for one. I didn't really like hunting birds. I've made that probably known to my father before, but it was something to do with him, and it's something he liked to do. But bird hunting, it was what I mostly did because it was like, you're just always moving. Like, you go into a field, let out your hunting dogs. My dad loved getting hunting dogs, so you get to see these dogs go back and forth. They point the bird, you go and kick them up, they flutter up, and you try and, take out the bird. It's a lot of fun. So my experience is more shotgun based, even though I've shot probably everything from a pistol to, I believe, an AR, because my brother was in the military, came back home, and we shot something. But this has been around the time period that I just wasn't too enthused by guns, and a lot. So I don't want to mess up the name of whatever he got. It could have been an M4 for all I know. Whatever a military weapon that was issued to a Marine around the 2014-15 era. He had one of those, and I shot that, and I shot a pistol. 12 gauge, 20 gauge, over under. I've even shot a bow that has that string on the end of it to go catfishing, but I never hit one of the fishes. But I shot one of those.
Pretty cool. I like go bow fishing.
I thought it was so cool, actually. I was surprised anyone fished like that.
Well,
and he had like a pond set up for it where you could easily see the fish kind of come up. Like, you'd bait them.
I gotta try that.
Dude, it was pretty legit, but you gotta lead the fish like they're. Do you ever see Castaway? That he actually was kind of right how he was.
Oh yeah, where he's like.
And he's explaining like how you have to actually spear the fish. It's exactly the same with the arrow thing. You and the water refracts. Like you could literally look at it, follow the arrow's not moving as fast as a bullet, and if you have good eyes, you can follow the arrow. You can follow it, and the water did refract. You're one step ahead of the fucking fish, and it was actually over here because the water was refracting the light, and the fish was technically in a different section than where it was on the surface of the water.
So just aim for where you see it.
He kept trying to explain it, so I don't know if I'd be the best one to actually answer your question, seeing how I never hit it.
But I have it on my list, bowfishing.
But it was sick. It was pretty sick.
Nice.
But where are you going with that? I'm sorry.
Oh no, you're good. No, exactly. It's I feel like I said, with that kind of rifle especially, it gets the rap for a lot of, it's
being the mass gun killer,
yeah. Mostly because, not necessarily because of the gun itself. The gun itself is it's the metal shell that fires the bullet that does the damage. The bullet that is fired.
It's just a popular modular tool.
Yeah, popular modular tool, and it fires. It like I said, it has one purpose, and it's to destroy stuff. So it's usually it's a 223, the 5.56 millimeter, 5.56. It's the round that fires, or a 223.
Well, now you're speaking alien to me, but I'm following.
Okay, so it's about yay big.
Cool.
And it's basically very fast. And when it hits things, it tumbles.
Oh, so it really rips through the body.
And it doesn't necessarily exit the same place that thing that it entered.
So it does a shit ton of damage.
So
it's almost inhumane way of killing something. Oh, okay. Well, that's a good argument for it. I've never heard any Democrat pull up that, actually, to be honest with you.
Which is why, and it doesn't take any special ammo to do that either.
I don't hear Republicans talk about it much either, to be honest with you. I knew bullets did that. I forgot which ones.
It's worse close. Well, those bullets do that. It's worse in close quarters, but that's how those work. And most of the time in their use, in their written documented military use of 5.56. Of soldiers using it in M4s, because that's what I find the same thing. It's they do chest shots, or and or like headshot.
It isn't like they say in the. I mean, I get that was what I know.
2 and 1.
The three they try and do a triple cluster in the chest area, or is that not true?
No, that's true too.
Oh, okay.
But like 2 are like basically double tap or like the triple. But yeah, no, it's and when you hit.
Well, aren't ARs kind of set up like a Halo battle rifle where they do the 3-shot, or am I wrong on that?
Depends. Not wrong, but it's not usually. Generally, that's not used so much as just 1, 2, 3.
Is there any gun that does what the battle rifle does in Halo? They do.
Yeah. The M16, the old M16 had a burst fire.
That sounds actually really familiar. That must have been the gun Nick brought back. It was the M16. All right. Welcome back. Sorry. Once again, the thing is overheating. I'll try and check back. It's kind of hard while it's heated, and I had this one ready to go because I knew this might be a problem again. So I don't know where it left off. So it may have cut off one or more of our opinions there at the end. The overheating seems to cut into about 15 seconds of whatever footage we had. So we're just gonna give you the TLDR on our opinions. Any last words you wanted to add on the gun thing? We were pretty much finished.
Yeah. Basically, I want more. I'm with you. More focus on the mental health and the mental understanding of people buying guns as to what they're buying them for and what they're used for. Mm-hmm. And I would like to see some more regulation on waiting periods and better background checks for sure. And as well as I know the whole argument of, well, the criminal is always going to be able to get the gun. Sure, but I want police to do a better job of tracking down stolen firearms, because that's a lot of how criminals get their guns, is they break into places and steal them, or cars. Yeah. Because people leave them in their vehicles quite often, little 38s or whatever. So, for goodness sakes, lock your guns up. If you conceal,
Australia has done similar too, and it's not like Europe. A lot of people like to bring up the horrors of Europe when they took away guns and how people are now holding up whole malls with a knife,
Right.
But it's like they did it in Australia, and Australia has a lot of their own problems. Don't get me wrong, there's similar racism to a lot of other countries, and sometimes stronger. But they don't seem to have a problem with guns. They still have avid hunters, gun users, gun training. I have all the things Australia does wrong as a piece of. All countries are piece of. Humans are shit.
Right.
They did okay on guns. It doesn't seem to be hurting them too much. I don't see why you can't regulations. And he did say we do both agree on the mental health thing, but I don't want it to sound like that's gonna fix guns. I don't think we've cared about mental health on every issue, and I think
for the past 20 years
it percolates into every issue. So to say that's gonna solve guns, yeah and no, in the way that it just needs to be something we should have been doing just a while. It's quite obvious that men struggle to talk about issues. Women have issues that are unvoiced. Men and women both have issues that are unknown to the other gender.
Sure.
We don't care about mental things, and I think that would fix a lot of things. But I hate using that as it because it does seem like me and you aren't, because we obviously have talked about it for 30 minutes. But like, it feels cop out to say that we need to focus on mental health. So I don't know.
Right. It's a cop out to say, it's only a mental health thing.
Right.
Again, a lot of there's research that shows that not all of the people that have conducted mass shootings were mentally unhealthy.
Right.
They knew perfectly well what they were doing. They just went off unhinged, like that movie Falling Down.
Hell, a lot of times they got their social media to tell us every single point they had. They don't need manifestos anymore. They had a whole 10 years of I hate this goddamn Obama, or I hate this goddamn Trump, or
whatever the flavor of the month. I hate
because you had technically both written down in different shooters. Oh yeah, you had the Kenosha shooter that was against the Republicans, and you had the recent ones that are against Democrats, and all over the board. Just like
I want there to be more education when you go to buy a gun, I personally, as someone who likes guns and has owned a couple and will probably own another one as soon as I have some expendable income. I want there to be just more education on what that thing can do when you buy it, And I don't mind waiting because I'm not in a hurry.
So I think me and you both kind of agree. I think we need that regulation. I think the only thing that I would add on is I do want to give that olive branch to the side that seems more offended by this. And again, I don't believe it. I'm a Republican or a Democrat. But if I did agree, and I do agree, that there should be more regulation. I do think there should be actually tons of red tape. But I do think when you get through it, the regulation should maybe be pulled back, and then
it should work in your favor.
Yeah, if anything, you should even find yourself more deregulated than you are today. It shouldn't be too hard for you to go to your local Walmart and pick up your gun needs, and not just shotguns or whatever Walmart sells now. Like truly, any port, and I agree because I'm American. I love guns, so I think maybe we should get to the point where we do focus on all this stuff that we just brought up, and we make the red tape so far. But I want to give you that olive branch where it's like, yeah, then the people that do it, you good citizens are the good person with a gun.
Yeah.
Get as many as you want.
Yeah, exactly.
Arm yourself to the teeth. Look like Duke Nukem when you walk outside.
Yeah, that's your right. Sure, go for it. There's another thing though. People don't necessarily. Some people that own guns don't necessarily practice the most tactful gun ownership policies. They wear their rifle like out to like Subway or some dumb thing, or like have.
But I mean,
like
depending on the state, that is their right. I don't know if I disagree with that. It does make me nervous to see somebody wearing a rifle. But if they're trying to push I don't know where I stand on that.
Sure, it's technically open carry, and that's fine. But again, it's like, I don't think you need to do it when you go to get lunch.
But that's when they try and push it. Those are like the sausage videos and stuff like that. Yeah, and they technically aren't breaking a law, so where do you stand then?
Right. Where I stand is...
Because I may be more on their side, in my opinion, but I do think that the black person's going to be treated worse than the white person, so I see the nuance there. But I do kind of agree that like... I mean, if it is the law of the land, yeah, it is tasteless. I
think it's tasteless.
No, I'm 100% with you. Actually, the guy who does walk in with AR, camo pins, that guy's a douchebag. As much as the person revving his motorcycle, but I'm never going to pass a law that says don't rev your motorcycle.
Right, exactly.
I don't know.
I guess my thing would be, again, everything comes down to education, and I feel like a lot of people need a little bit more education on exactly what that right means and how it and the fact that if they exercise that, other people will notice and may or may not feel comfortable about it. Just common. I want to say common sense, but it's not necessarily.
Yeah, because now you sound like Cory Booker or so. I mean, like.
No, but it's one of those things where I just wish more people would understand that their actions have consequences, and the consequences of pulling the trigger on a firearm can be fatal once, and that's all it takes.
Yeah.
I want people to know. I just want people to know that that's what they're for, Yeah. That's what you're buying it for. Don't kid yourself.
No, I definitely get where you're coming from. It's hard to legislate that. It's more emotionality, but it's hard. They should be trained. There should be trained, but there is a lot of training that goes into it. But
I want every place that offers concealed carry. I want training for every single person for that. Because right now Kansas doesn't require that. You can just conceal carry willy-nilly.
Actually, Kansas is technically one of the top 3 states on gun carrying laws. Like I think when it comes to we have like the less red tape, I should say, when it comes to best.
Yeah.
So
we can go to a gun show and buy a couple right now for probably not very much. But...
No, I think they still do background checks. I went to a gun show later. I tried to do that, and you can't. Because I heard about that, and I did the whole Steven Crowder thing at the Kansas City, or not Kansas City, Abilene gun show, and what's that? There's a gun show that happens 45 minutes outside of Salina. That's not Abilene, is it?
Raven.
There's a gun show out there it's advertised on the side of the highway, like on Highway 70 all the time. It's got a big old pink sign. But anyway, I went out to that gun show. I did try to see. I had $1,500, and they said that I had to wait for the background check to come back, and they took my ID and they printed it. So yeah, I don't know. But
I gotcha. But yeah, no, and I want.
But I kind of we solve guns. We need red tape and a little bit more regulation. So. Anybody listening to this, just take all of our opinions and vote them into Congress.
Sure, go for it. Oh yeah,
Fake weed.
fake weed. So
In Kansas, first because he's more educated, so the only thing I can add is explain to you what we mean by diet weed, fake weed, or whatever. For all you people that aren't living in legal states and illegal, I don't even know if we should show this. I mean, it's going to be illegal next week. Maybe we should put this off
Yeah,
there.
fair. Maybe I shouldn't show that.
But in Kansas, they do everything from, if you're younger, you've probably heard of K2. It's just stuff that is like trying to get as close to the feeling of THC. So this new thing that's out is Delta 9, where it's a chemical compound that's typically sprayed on hemp, which actually was one day, or could have been one day weed, but was going more for the hemp thing, so should have no THC, and then they spray this chemical compound called Delta 8, 9, or whatever number they're on now. They have to keep changing because we keep passing laws to compete, the government trying to pass laws to compete with this new compound that's being sprayed on it. So it's like diet weed. I've never felt like it had the same effects of weed. He's a big avid user, fan of it, I should say. So I'm going to let him get into it because there are a lot of weird laws getting into it. But just to explain to you what it is, it's not marijuana. It's for the illegal states, there's different things you can get that is smokable, that is trying to be marijuana and give you the effects of it that isn't CBD.
Exactly, and that's exactly what governments, especially in Kansas, that's what counties are starting to try and legislate and ban these products, especially the vapes. That's what they're really trying to get at, because they are marketed with a lot of very colorful packaging and fruity flavors.
I mean, that one that we were about to show on camera, it was purple and pink. I think it's sexy.
They're not hiding it though. They're being blatant in how fun they're trying to be, and what their target is. But again, it's still 21 and up to get them. And
one of them even has kind of a weed plant on it. Like if I was if I didn't know the laws and stuff like that as a police officer pulling you over, I might try and get you on that.
Yeah,
What I mean?
You gotta be you gotta be educated on these things. So I originated the coverage of this kind of locally. It's Delta 8. You're right. It's a compound that's sprayed. It's derived from hemp. Therefore, it's legal under industrial hemp laws in the state of Kansas. It's also
I didn't know you knew the whole making of too. I should have just let you take the whole helm on this. My bad.
It's all good. It's also legal. It's legal under the 2018 Farm Bill under industrial hemp-related products. It's legal under Kansas agricultural law because as it relates to CBD products and or related products, as long as it doesn't have, as long as it derives from hemp and doesn't have THC content above the federal legal limit of 0.3%, all good.
So the problem is the 0.3% that's triggering our politicians.
That's triggering the politicians, because what they're doing is they're probably having people go and buy some of these things, or they're looking them up online. And you can look up, most cases you can look up the chemical compounds of these products. And I say in most cases. Sometimes there's shops that'll sell some homemade stuff, and then it's like, oh, don't do that. And a lot of also what they're trying to do is keep shops that aren't necessarily licensed to sell that sort of thing from like gas stations and stuff. Because if a gas station is selling some fruity flavor looking Delta 8 vape thing for 15 or so bucks, $20, and a 12-year-old comes in and they don't care,
And that's where most of the stuff is sold, by the way. It's in your local alcohol shops and gas stations in the Kansas specifically, and probably most of the states where marijuana is still illegal. They are just sold. It's just odd. You'll just run into it and it'll be sold right next to the potpourri or something. It's just odd stuff.
Right, and that's what they're going after. And it's and especially if it's if they can find a little bit that says, oh, this product is tested above the limit, then they can do whatever, basically.
And actually, I did hear that was kind of a. I mean, again, this is I wasn't into it, but I was hearing it from actually some of my friends that did it. They're like, sometimes you would get a bag that actually it had a lot of THC in it, and it smoked like real weed, you know, and they're like, I got
You can
so high off of it.
Yeah,
but I haven't
it's
heard
hemp
those
flower.
stories as much anymore because it seems like they've been trying to really make sure that percentage stays low.
Exactly. Yeah, at first you would hear that, but not so much
Yeah, it
anymore.
was like getting a swag bag from like Green Solutions in Colorado, you know what I mean?
Right, but yeah, well, there are still shops, like CBD shops can still sell it, and it's fine, like Sacred Leaf, American Shaman Halls. They're fine.
American Shaman, I like them.
Yeah, American Shaman.
If you're in Manhattan, here, shout out to American Shaman.
Yeah, they're awesome. Go see Donald. He's great. He's been stoned for like 4 years now, but
Yeah.
he's the coolest dude. Anyway, so look, basically, yeah, what they're trying to legislate is products that give the sensation of marijuana, and not necessarily understanding exactly how it goes about giving that sensation. As usual.
It's so weird too that, but you mentioned that they're trying to go after it. Like you said that they like are trying to regulate it more, which is funny to me because like
or at least giving it up to counties to regulate more, because it stems from
we're getting to the point we're trying to get off weed. Like we're deregulating weed everywhere, and the Kansas is now like.
It only.
But this fake weed is it's evil.
It's heinous, yeah. Well, and here's a little theory on this. So, the only reason this is coming up is because the director of the KBI, Kirk Thompson, sent a letter to Derek Schmidt asking, what do we do about Delta 8 and these products that have THC in them, but technically they're legal, but they make people feel stoned. And I'll admit, I wrote a newspaper article that said that yes, some of these products will get you stoned, just like, you know, some Colorado.
Right, because that's how you got onto this. You studied this because your newspaper article wanted to have something about it.
And it works. You know, I did some gonzo journalism, and it works. It truly does. But and I don't know if they saw exactly my thing or they just, you know, heard about it from other wares. But yeah, they don't really like that. Especially in a state where it's illegal, and a state where there's discussions about trying to at least make medical, you know, and push for that. That's
been the only push we really had. We had one recreational push in 2018 before the COVID hit, and that's the last thing I remember.
Well, and I know a guy from Topeka who's a big hemp advocate, industrial hemp especially. His father, he told me, his father was involved. His worked for K-State and was involved in an operation in the 70s that basically slashed and burned all these hemp fields around Kansas, thinking it was, you know, weed. And all these, you know, a couple of old retired police officers were like, there's just wild weed growing rampant, and all these big drug dealers are gonna hack it up and sell it. It was this big giant conspiracy. So they even got K-State roped into it. And in the 70s, his dad, he said he was like hacking and slashing this, or like burning it down, and like. All because of reefer madness.
Ditchweed.
All because it's 100% ditchweed. All reefer. But the thing is, you can even make paper out of ditchweed.
Oh yeah.
So there's some.
I mean, there's hemp. Everybody knows. I mean, I'm sure the internet knows all the uses of hemp. Hemp should have been grown for a while.
We need to use hemp for more things. We really do.
I mean, per acre, it produces more paper than any tree can, and grows in a season instead of a few years.
And again, with some of the concentrates.
And it's naturally white too when you start producing it.
Yeah. But yeah, no, and with some of the like more chemical sides of things, with some of these like products, CBD is derived from hemp, and CBD is non-psychoactive. A lot of people like that for all kinds of like physical and mental like therapies.
I still think that's like fucking.
I think it's snake oil.
My opinion is snake oil, but I think you need the whole plant. All the cannabinoids need to be together for you to actually get the medical thing. But everybody keeps telling me the CBD, and oh man, if you get a high CBD with that, it makes it better. And I'm just like, all right, sure, man.
The other reason people like the Delta 8 stuff is and kind of why I like it is it doesn't necessarily give the sensation of paranoia that can come with some full-fledged.
See, I never had that either I did or did not smoke weed, but I mean I just never felt that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I never even want to. I've had anxiety recently because of life choices that I've had, and then some PTSD. But before that, I don't know. I've always been, I don't know, just pretty sure of myself as a person when it came to those kind of things.
I gotcha.
So I just never got to the point. Oh my God, I mean, maybe the first time I smoked, just because how the society views it, is like, oh my God, this is a legal thing, and so I guess I got the normal human paranoia, as you would always do, doing anything moderately illegal for the first time as a young kid, like walking out of a store with a candy bar or something like that. Dun 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 dun, you know?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Just like, yeah, like, or me, like, I remember being 6 and like shoplifting some chapstick, and my mom was like, we get in the car and I'm looking at my chapstick, my mom's like, where'd you get that?
Right.
And I didn't say anything. She's like, go take that back.
But my point is, it wasn't like a drug-induced paranoia. I feel like it was naturally induced. Everybody gets those kinds of paranoia. Your first steal as a little kid, being an idiot.
Sure.
Your first mistake.
Your first
you get in trouble. Broke mom's pot. Her favorite china.
Fair.
All these things. That's natural anxiety. I don't think it was I don't think any anxiety that I've ever got that was pertaining to marijuana was induced because of said marijuana. For me, at least.
It's probably more.
I do hear this is a common thing, though. I mean, it's so common that it's like jokes in Judd Apatow films. You know, stuff like that. Like it's an actual.
Well, yeah, it's 100%.
But I just never. I never experienced it. Yeah, exactly. I've never experienced it.
His car was never there the whole time. He was just stoned as hell. But no, and again.
Surprised that guy could drive.
Right, exactly. But yeah, no, fake weed or diet weed, as they like to call it.
I do like that. I think that's funny.
More counties is a diet weed.
You made the weed person laugh in the Denver store we went to the other day.
Diet weed, heck yeah. So yeah, and that was nice. But yeah, long story short, more counties in Kansas are starting to, like, I say go after, they're starting to look at it in terms of possibly like, what do we do with this? And it generally only arises if there's a problem. And in I think Ellis County out in central Kansas, Hayes.
No, I do know where that is.
I think it was a gas station was selling it, and and it was what it was he was advertising it as being like above the legal limit.
So he's pushing it.
And so that got him closed down for that. A store up in Topeka recently got closed down for the same thing. They were telling people they were selling. So Delta 8 is a compound. You can derive it from hemp. It is a THC compound. It's different from what is federally recognized as marijuana, which
as the THC.
As THC, it was called Delta 9.
Yeah.
That's the Delta 9 coming. Then there's Delta 10, and I'm not even going to go into the rest of all the other.
Well, I'm assuming they're doing the exact same thing they do with K2. K2 is made off something called U something something something, and then every other week that the government kept cracking down on K2 is U242 or 241,
right.
240. So I'm assuming those numbers aren't actually different as much as they are like, I added this much chloroplane or whatever into the thing.
Some alchemy going on making these little things.
Yeah.
And that is some of it too, is there's not necessarily ways to hold the manufacturers accountable for what's actually in those things, especially with the vapes, because they can put in who knows what to make it go down smooth or taste good.
Yeah.
And not necessarily.
I mean, they did actually at one point that the black holes in lungs, that was coming from aftermarket weed pens, because they're putting it on specifically vitamin E oil, and that could not be removed from the lung. So it just ended up eating away and making black holes in your goddamn lung.
Right. It's like, no, don't do that, people.
Yeah.
But no, I guess to wrap up on that, the whole thing there is among some counties in Kansas, attitudes are different among law enforcement. And
right.
Really, and in Riley County,
I guess it just depends on who you're running to.
I was just say in the area where we live, it's not the cops don't really care because it's a college town, and they're like, just don't shoot anybody, you're fine.
Yeah.
Don't shoot or rape anybody, you're good. But if some other counties like where Lawrence is, University, Kansas, that county is cracking down on it, mostly because they already have trouble with. They already have a lot of like straight up regular weed coming through from Kansas City.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, anybody on a main highway is getting
right. So they're getting that, but also they are same thing with like there's shops that are selling it that probably shouldn't be, like some of the head shops and stuff like that, and they're not necessarily equipped for it, and they're not necessarily checking people either.
Yeah.
That's another thing that'll get them in trouble real fast if they're not IDing people, and like, the plant 17-year-old kid goes in to buy it and they don't check, and they come back and they tell their senator dad, oh yeah, by the way. you know.
So there's definitely a illegal dark water going around with the fake diet weed, and if you didn't know what that was, that's what's going on mostly in Kansas, but I'm sure any other state that has it's still illegal.
You can thank some gonzo journalism for that.
Yeah, well, I mean, on that and on Kansas and on everything, we had. It was such bad weather that people could not figure out if they categorize it as a tornado or not. But he had something he wanted to add on that. But what I experienced was, I'm from Kansas, so we go and watch tornadoes when they come in. But I was relatively surprised by how much damage it was done. It was funny too because every car around my truck had like damaged or smashed windows, and my old truck was like the only thing untouched. I just had like weird luck on that, but. A lot of trees down. It felt like that snowstorm back in 2011. It was pretty bad. Like even two days later. It's been 3 days now or 2 days.
3.
3 days now, and we still have at least 2 or 3 roads down just from the amount of trees that have been wrecking it. So we had some pretty strong ass winds, but he masturbates to weather videos. He'll pull up like videos of like tornadoes and stuff like that, and then just start rubbing oil all over his body and just goes, "Oh, you dirty tornado! You dirty girl!"
If I'm on a date and the girl,
no, what I mean, he's more experienced. He can explain better.
Let's just say that if we're on a date, I'm immediately aroused. If no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. She's like, did you hear I'm a storm chaser? He's like, I have to go change my pants.
I have to go change my pants. Hey babe, let me slip into something more comfortable. Puts on a raincoat.
He's like, I already slipped into something more comfortable when you said storm chaser, strips off clothes.
I'll show you a Twister.
Yeah, Twister is this guy's favorite move. Actually,
no, it's not.
When he masturbates, it is to Twister. It's like the opening credits too. It's weird. He didn't even finish the movie. It's just like he hears that song coming in and sees the first
Anytime
Twister.
Van Halen comes up, dun, dun, dun.
Hurricane! No, just kidding. No, tell me your aspect why I just ripped on you for 5 minutes. I'm an awful human being, by the way.
No, you do. Well, yes. No, you do. I do have an obsession with the weather. It's true, especially severe weather.
And we did have really severe weather, and you're living in the perfect state for it.
We're in a perfect state for it. I was at an event where it was the Kansas City Symphony playing basically a concert in the Flint Hills. It was really pretty, and it was very nice. And it was.
And they're a good symphony. They play well.
Oh, they played. It was magnificent. They had a soloist, a violinist that was amazing. Played some. We were making this joke. It's pronounced Debussy, but
I get off the violinist.
Yeah, we were talking about it. Debussy.
Yeah, the joke the Family Guy ran around.
The French composer Debussy.
Debussy. Don't finish on the Bach. Finish on the pussy.
Finish on Debussy. And it was, it almost finished on Debussy because that's about the time they realized that severe weather was coming our way, and the authorities had 2 hours. I say authorities, like folks on site had 2 hours to basically figure out what to do. So 1 hour, it took them 1 hour to basically get things coordinated, and they skipped to a song that was supposed to play in the second half of the concert after intermission, and played that song.
That's when he started to know something was going on.
Right, then I'm like...
His weather ears, he had
like,
little...
My human barometer.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, this is different. And my friend with me, she was like, yeah, I wonder what's going. That's supposed to be for later. And about that time, it's like, all right, the wind's died down a little bit, and things are a little calmer, but it's still kind of warm out. And we're like, oh. And about the
calm before the storm's a real thing.
Yep. And then a couple of minutes later, the MC comes up to the stage. He says, well, folks. He says something to the effect of, well, folks, in true Kansas fashion, the weather has decided not to cooperate, and basically told us that we had to evacuate and get to our cars in the parking area, which was about 1.25 miles or so through the tent city that they had built for this entire day-long event, leading up to this concert performance, which gets cut in half. And the ironic thing is, the whole theme of the event was weather in the Flint Hills, and it gets freaking cut off by weather in the fucking Flint Hills.
Well, you guys didn't realize it was probably an Indian graveyard you were doing it on, and you guys are doing the dance of the Indian rain.
Governor Laura Kelly shows up, and she says, we're celebrating weather in the Flint Hills today, which thankfully is holding. And I think she jinxed it for everybody, because then the weather decided not to hold in this big damn thunderstorm, which caused all the damage up here in Manhattan.
Damn Democrats, we should have never put them in charge. She's probably grinding babies into fetal matter right now. I don't know.
That's terrible.
It's only terrible if she drinks it.
Oh God. Anyway, so weather stuff. So this big
back to the weather.
This big old nasty.
Not the babies.
Not the babies. This big old nasty storm that damages Manhattan. Damages Manhattan, makes this like turn south, and then all the organizers of the event were like, "Oh shit!
Oh shit!
So
run for the hills!
Big nasty.
We're already in the hills! Shit!
We're in the hills!
Double shit!
Run out of the hills! Not like Iron Maiden, run to the hills. Escape the hills. We were told to escape. So I was part of a mass exodus of like 7,000 people escaping through the hills, and we had to follow this little narrow, like, it wasn't narrow, but this little like gravel pathway like through the hills and whatnot. And these storm clouds are coming in, and there's this woman, this very nice woman, and her mom, and they were like, what? They were like, oh, those are cool. And I was like, oh, those are Mamada's clouds. And they were like, oh, really? What is it? And then again, they were.
What is a Mamada's cloud?
It's the ones that look like memories. That's why they're Mamadas. The ones that look like little, like
boobs?
Pokey, little boobs, or little like popcorn ceiling clouds.
I like boobs.
They're those clouds.
They're on women.
We know.
Oh.
So anyway.
I wanted to add something to the weather.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So anyway.
Memories found on women.
Yeah.
All right, back to weather.
In cloud form.
Yeah, in cloud form, they're not typically found on women because women can't
Can't be clouds. Anyway, you had 7,000 people get to their cars, right?
Mm.
And then everybody got to their cars, and then after that, there wasn't really a plan. It was just everybody tried to leave, and everybody tried to leave courteously.
Oh
what
my
ended
God.
up happening was this big old nasty severe storm rolled over, these thousands of people in their vehicles, and we're all lucky that there wasn't a tornado within the damn thing. Because
you guys have been like
we were
a
just
car
sitting
tornado.
There. Right, not good, right?
Yeah, Sharknado.
Right, my Buick would not have survived. So my
actually it probably would have. That thing's pretty low to the ground. It's heavy too.
It's heavy and low, maybe.
Old Buick too. Oh, I've seen old Buick. They handle
if
well.
If the air
man.
gets underneath the front of it, then it's
yeah,
over.
you're right.
But the crumple zone would be me. So anyway, but yeah, no, I was sitting there. I was trying to update social media, be like, hey guys, I'm in a storm right now, and
I don't make it alive.
it's raining and hailing, and like the wind shifts direction a little bit, and it was like, oh shit, because it was like it was going north south.
It was surprisingly strong.
Hard.
As someone who's not scared of weather at all, I went out to check my truck, and I did genuinely feel like I'd get a Final Destination moment, tree flying through the air and spear me through the fucking chest.
Right. No, it was fairly intense, and like it was a very intense storm, and like I wasn't really enjoying it because I was trying to update social media and be like, hey guys, this event just got canceled, and here we are. So
I might die.
I might die, but it's okay. So storm passes. It's about an hour from when they announce it, that we all have to leave, to when we get to our cars. And then it's another 15, 20, 30 minutes but for the storm to arrive. And then another hour, 30 minutes to an hour for the storm to leave. Mm-hmm. And then by that time, I was like, everybody could like finally leave. And I got into the cars. I just waited out because I'm a storm person anyway.
Yeah, I mean, you want to do this. I mean, his dream is to get a car and a group together to go hunt. Or not hunt, or hunt is a good word?
Yeah.
Find weather storms and do Twister made it obviously movie-like, but that's the only pop culture reference I could think of or know. He wants to go chase those storms like that.
Yeah, you can drive if you want.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind. I've been to work. People get...
It's a lot of
I'm fearless.
It's a lot of long distances in a car, so since you're good at long distance driving, like that's what it is most of the time.
I probably could do it. I just don't have a boner for weather,
You don't have
maybe
to.
those memory weather glands. We just need to look at boob ones.
Look at boob clouds.
Sure.
But
and I've watched all those weather girls that follow storms. They look like uggos. I see why they follow storms.
Oh, come on.
They got hit by a storm. No, I'm just kidding.
They're lovely.
They're loved by someone. Okay, I'm sorry. This continually keeps happening. My thing overheated again. I'm obviously gonna have to upgrade my camera at one point. Hopefully it cut off my last offensive joke. But
scrub it.
I'm gonna toss it over to AJ for I don't know if he was the last person talking before our camera decided to go. and die. So I'll toss over to him, and then hopefully we'll have it looks like it is running a little bit low on memory, and we're going to go straight into what everybody's been waiting for. We have solved who killed JFK.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then, final thoughts on the weather. Basically, what do you expect when you have an outdoor event with a lot of people in Kansas in June? It's probably going to rained
honestly,
out or
yeah.
something, and it's just
and
ironic.
You're right with the name of it.
It's so ironic.
Yeah.
It's so ironic and unavoidable. I really do think Mother Nature was like, haha, these puny humans.
Yeah. And the weather of the Flint Hills. They're like, you want to taste some weather of the Flint Hills?
Exactly. I think people got their full money's worth that night.
Yeah, for people not from
100%.
Kansas, it is a joke that Kansas experiences all weather at once,
At
all
any
the
time.
time. Yeah, like I have lived days myself where it snows in the morning and you can go swimming in a lake at night. I mean, it's not. It was weird.
No. I've driven one side of the state. I drove in. It was cold and snowy, and by the time I got to the other side of the state, there was severe thunderstorms.
Yeah, I mean we're flat,
So.
but by far, wind is definitely common. But besides that, we've experienced every type of weather, but hurricanes maybe.
Right.
And we get tornadoes.
Right. Well, and even I wonder about hurricanes,
Yeah,
but
definitely
if it's a big enough
level.
one, it can get far enough out. But anyway, yeah, no. Basically, what do you expect? And we're lucky that it wasn't worse. We're all very lucky it wasn't worse. And I'm kind of glad that I was there for it because, of course, you know me, I wrote a whole big story about it.
Yeah, no, that's true.
And it was a crazy thing that I'm not going to forget for a while. So, and I've got pictures of it. So,
I mean, to be honest, I still remember the fucking ice storm from 2011, and I definitely am gonna remember all of my neighbors' cars having damaged windows around my truck, and my truck being fine. And I'm literally, what was so funny about it is I'm under a tree, and like there was one car that wasn't under a tree, and it looked like one of the limbs like broke and then broken away where it swung down and hit them. It's like
the wind carried it, and it carried it away from your truck.
Yeah, it's like
Save the pickup.
I wish my luck would apply to something other than that kind of luck. Like I could win like the lotto and get out of this hellhole. But,
We're working on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, I think what do you say? There's some memory running low and the battery's running
Oh,
low. So
yeah. No, right. Oh, yeah. Okay. So before we finish on the last one, I've been doing a lot of research myself, and it.
Right. You and me both. We've been on the phone,
Yeah.
late at night for our past couple of weeks. 4 weeks.
And the
or so.
Warren Commission has actually released a lot of the information. So when you actually connect the dots, it's pretty obvious. It's honestly, I can't believe no one's ever thought of this person before.
Right.
But
So
we know who killed JFK.
Yeah. So we looked him up.
Yeah.
Yeah, we looked him up.
His name is